10:30 this morning, Matt Eberflus, Ryan Poles officially kicked off training camp with their joint press conference. This is pretty traditionally how it's done with the Bears, whether we were back in Bourbonnais or here in Lake Forest. But so they talked. Then we had a combo DJ Moore, Cole Kmet presser. Then we had a combo Tremaine Edmonds, TJ Edwards presser. And then we had a combo Caleb Williams, Rome Odunze presser. So 4 pressers. Every single one of them had 2 people up there. And we got through them relatively quickly, to be honest with you. So we were able to bump this show up. We were thinking it'd be more like 2 o'clock. We're doing this now around 1. And we got thoughts, we got takeaways, we got our best and worst from what we heard today. And that was it. I mean, it's not what training camp used to be. I'll get into that in a little bit. But Nick, why don't I start with you? What was your best from today?
Yeah, so I asked Cole Kmet, DJ Moore, what's the realistic timeline for this offense? And DJ's answer, one word, tomorrow. And then Cole Kmet chimes in right away saying, yeah, the urgency, we got to get this thing going quickly. And I think that's going to be an interesting thing that the Bears are going to be balancing, I think, you guys, in terms of getting used to this offense with some veterans, obviously, around Caleb Williams, but Caleb being, the rookie quarterback that's going to be on his own timeline. So I just like the urgency that the veterans are putting on themselves to get to know this offense with Shane Waldron, to put themselves in a better position, I think, down the road to help Caleb Williams develop and learn the NFL game. So I really like that from all the things that were said. I really liked DJ Moore and Cole Kmet's answer to that question. And then for my worst, and I think this maybe can fall into, a lot of people's worst for Bears fans, when Poles was talking about the defensive line group, he kind of brought it up himself in his opening statement. He said, we feel really comfortable with the guys we have in our roster right now. I'm excited. We're both excited to see Travis and Eric Washington really put their hands on these guys and develop them as we go through the beginning of training camp. And yes, you can feel that optimism with the guys they have in the room. Of course, you have a rookie in Austin Booker. You have DeMarcus Walker. You have, you have guys, but I think feeling really good about a group where you realistically have one proven dude in Montez Sweat, I think is a little bit overly optimistic at this point. Of course, we got to see how these guys develop and see what ends up happening. But that would be my worst from what was also said today.
Interesting. I'll jump in. My best was Tremaine Edmonds and TJ Edwards sitting up at the podium and just sort of crystallizing in my mind that these two coming into year 2 together after an extremely productive first year for TJ. And I think, Tremaine was coming along. And I think those two, along with Sanborn, with more in front of them, Montez Sweat specifically, improving Gervon Dexter Sr., and Edmonds, being asked, like, are you guys a top 5 defense? And no hesitation, 100%. That was just sort of a nice foundational calming moment of just thinking about this team for me today. My worst, on the other hand, is, I asked about how many plays, snap count for Caleb in the preseason. Kevin Powell asked a bunch of questions there, our buddy over at WGN. And Flus's answer was like, we're going to look at how we did that in the past, 45 to 55 snaps. And, he's kind of like going off of history. And in my mind, this is not about history. This is about the now, and using the roadmap that you used before should not necessarily apply to how you handle Caleb. How does he look? How much, we want to take, I would love to hear, we want to take advantage of all the time we haven't. They mentioned all the snaps that he's going to get against the ones in the Bears defense in training camp. And that's fine. That's great. That's exactly what he should be doing. But I would have liked to have heard a little more flexibility with how they're going to handle the preseason and getting him out there. And because to me, like, to the urgency point that Nick's making, he needs to play, period. End of story. The Bears don't have the luxury, in my mind, just to put him in bubble wrap.
Yeah, and to your point, Carm, even if you are going to go off history shows you weren't ready to play week 1 last year.
Right.
So if anything, the history shows that they should probably play more than they did a year ago. And then I tend to agree with you. Like, you need to get Caleb Williams reps. And I just hope that they're not, we can get into this a little bit more in a little bit, but I just hope that they're not. We heard multiple players today talk about how good the defense is and how that's going to give them the best challenge. I think there's a lot of truth to that, but I hope they're not just like overrating that too much, and being like, oh, well, our best reps are just going to come against our own defense. Well, that gets repetitive, and you start to figure out each other's plays after a couple weeks. And it's at some point you do need to go play live bullets against another squad and get real reps. And 45 to 55 reps for me over the course of 50 days. So that's one live rep a day is essentially what we're talking about here when you average it all out, because it's 50 days until your first game when you're going to actually go out there and play a real football game. And it's not enough for me. We can talk a little bit more about that. My best, be a little weird with this because I think in general, today was sort of a lot of nothing for the first day of camp. There was a little bit of news we'll touch on here in a second. That could have qualified as a worst. But just the guys that were brought to the podium today. Okay. Look at how it all lines up. You have DJ Moore, you have Cole Kmet, two highly paid, good players at their respective positions in the NFL. And then you go to the defense and you got two linebackers that are just really solid, consistent players. Maybe not the best in the NFL, but they are surely really good. And honestly, I think there's a small chance TJ Edwards can continue to track to the top of the top with the way he just seemingly gets better and better every year. And then you follow it up with two of the most exciting rookies that you could have that you pulled out of the top 9 picks of the draft. So I think it's just almost symbolic of all these players. The only one that was here before Ryan Poles was Cole Kmet, but you fill it in with those other 5 guys with what Ryan Poles and Matt Eberflus have started to build here. And I just think that it was, for the first day, not an accident that those guys were the ones that came to the podium. And it shows you this roster building and why, even if it's just from an optical perspective, of why you should be excited about the trending direction of the Chicago Bears right now. So that's my best. My worst is report day sucks. It's not what it used to be. It used to be so much more fun. You had Jay Cutler roll up in a conversion van one year. You had Tariq Cohen in his spider doing donuts and pissing off Matt Nagy 5 minutes into training camp. You used to have guys in jerseys and you could talk to everyone and everyone was in a good mood. And you really got to see the actual vibe of these guys showing up. A couple legendary Brandon Marshall press conferences. I know he did something off the top of my head. I can't remember what it was, but he did something weird one year. Even if you want to go beyond the Bears, remember, didn't Antonio Brown show up in a helicopter one year and just land? Now that ended up going way south. So maybe that's not necessarily a good example, but it just, honestly, selfishly, it used to be way more fun than it is.
Hey, I rolled up in a golf cart this morning with, Chris Emma and Mark Rohde. So that was exciting for me, but it wasn't like what you were just describing there, Adam.
Yeah. I'm being selfish about this one, admittedly, but the excitement of it is just not there, at least for us. And we're the conduit to the fans. So I get that they could still go on the Bears Twitter and see the pictures of the actual, guys walking in the building at the time they do, but it's just, it's not what it used to be. Even this is going to sound crazy, like the excitement of driving down to Bourbonnais that first time, which was the only time you ever excited to drive down there. But there was excitement in the air, and you pull off the highway and you pull up into ONU and you didn't know who you're going to run into when you're going to run into them. I just miss all that. I think I'll be more excited to go to practice tomorrow. Like that'll be fine. That excitement will all come back, but just the nostalgia of report day to me is just gone with the way it is now.
That was the word I was going with. I love Hogue nostalgia. I love thinking about a young Hogue at ONU rolling in. And you're right, by the way. The more button up you get with this stuff, the less you're going to connect with fans. Memo to the NFL. Like that was a fun thing, seeing those dudes do all the things you just named. And I could go even further back to that. I'd be Jim McMahon reporting, Walter Payton reporting, Steve Mongo McMichael reporting. Like that stuff was unbelievable. Platteville, Wisconsin, back in the day for us old hats around here. You're right, man. That's it. I got an honorable mention though for best of the day, and it's not just because we love working with them here at CHGO, but Cole Kmet was so damn ass professional up there today. He is gold for the Bears, not just on the field, but as far as a front-facing player to represent the organization, understand what it's all about. And one of his underlying comments, like, hey, what about the increased expectations? And he's like, dude, every year I've been here, my expectation was to go to the playoffs and win the Super Bowl. I mean, you guys might be talking about that, but my mindset has always been this. And I'm just like, this dude, he just gets it. And he barely let DJ Moore speak up there, which I don't know if that was okay with DJ, but I just listening to Cole today was like, man, this guy is an asset all over the place.
Well, you know what, though? I think part of that was DJ didn't seem really interested in giving long answers today.
True.
So, I mean, compared to them being up there together was interesting because, and DJ's usually, we never have a problem with DJ. It's not like we had a problem today. His just answers were they seemed a lot shorter and subdued compared to Cole's. And so I think maybe Cole felt like he was picking it up a little bit. I don't know. But I agree with you.
Yeah, I had a new seat today along the side wall next to a Mark Grody and company. This is like the radio reporter role. And, DJ was giving the side eye to that group the whole time. He's just like, I had a different angle on his, like, what are you asking? Who are you? What am I going to say to this person? So he's a balanced, smart, calculated DJ.
I noticed that too. Like DJ, his eyes, like he's like, okay, what are you about to ask, and what are you about to say here? I mean, he's calculated, so it's just his personality there.
But to be fair, always available to talk.
Yep, always.
I mean, and thoughtful throughout the season, so it's not like there's ever any issues there. And
he also gave one really, I thought, honest, interesting answer about, he was asked if Caleb is ahead or has exceeded his expectations. He's like, well, I mean, you can say that for OTAs, but that doesn't mean he's not going to have the rookie curve. We got to see what he looks like on the field. I thought it was a good, solid, just grounding of expectations for the quarterback, and just like, hey, man, I don't know. We'll have to see what he looks like. To me, it sounds like basically like I'm expecting him to go up and down all season long, like most rookie quarterbacks do, and that's just a fair expectation for anybody stepping into that spot.
We all silly like the mayor.